All right, so our last comparison of two variables is to go ahead and look at quantitative versus quantitative. So with quantitative versus quantitative, we might want to see something like, does your shoe size influence your height or vice versa? So if I wanted to look at that, one of the first things I might do is just look at a scatter plot, right? This allows me to look at two quantitative variables together. So let's look at shoe size versus height. And my scatter plot here shows a very definite positive linear trend between your shoe size and the height. The taller you are, the larger your shoes are. So we feel pretty good about what's going on here. Definitely expect to see something statistically significant based on this graph. So the next thing I could do is I could go get a numeric to measure how strong exactly is this. So if I wanted to do that, I'd go to stat correlation. And I would say, let's look at shoe size versus height. Now here's the thing we didn't do before when we were in part 3. We didn't click this button for a two-sided p-value. So if we do that and press compute, we just have the p-value, which says that there's a strong positive linear relationship, the correlation, and then we also have a p-value saying this is not 0. This is statistically significant. There is enough evidence to say there is a strong positive linear relationship between these two variables. And one thing you don't have to do, because technically it's above and beyond for this, but if you see a linear trend, the last thing you could do is you could go in and do a linear regression. Because we've done it before, we know how it works. We could look at shoe size predicting height, or if you think the other way around makes more sense, how tall you are influences your shoe size, you could do it that way. It even asks, do you want to perform hypothesis tests? Do you want confidence intervals? But we're just going to leave it like this. But this gives you a little bit more, because now we can actually look at this line, right? The equation for the linear regression. Dang it, I can't move things because I keep right-clicking instead of regular clicking. And say that for every 1 inch taller you are, your shoe size will go up 0.36. And we can see here, we didn't know this before, but the estimates on our line, we can see whether they're significant or not. And we can actually see these both have p-values that are less than 0.0001, so we would reject the null, and these two things aren't 0. They actually exist. This is the right intercept. This is the right slope. They're not 0. So there's a little more inferential stuff that we had before. And again, you can also see a p-value for your table, for your actual regression model as well. So there's a lot more to this than when we saw it originally. But anyways, hopefully that gives you a little more help with how to do all the stuff that we need to do if we're looking at a quantitative versus a quantitative.